All right, welcome to another Friday night episode of Keto Rocks Radio. I'm Jim Hobbs, and on my left or right is my carnivore co-host, Brian Damage Forsythe of the band Kix and Rhino Bucket. And Brian, we got a special guest with us tonight.
Yeah. We do.
We're very excited about this gentleman. Just to kind of give you a little bit of background on who our guest is going to be today. Ben Azadi went through a personal health transformation of shredding 80 pounds of pure fat back in around 2008, I believe. And ever since, Ben has been on a mission to help 1 billion people live a healthier lifestyle. That is a billion. That is with a B. So that's quite a lofty goal, which I, in conjunction, hope we can achieve that together. Ben is the author of 4 best-selling books: Keto Flex, The Perfect Health Booklet, The Intermittent Fasting Cheat Sheet, and The Power of Sleep. Ben has been the go-to source for intermittent fasting and the ketogenic diet. He is known as the health detective because he investigates dysfunction and he educates, not medicate, to bring the body back to normal function. And Ben has been the founder of Keto Kamp, a global brand bringing awareness to ancient healing strategies such as the keto diet and fasting. He's got over 15 a top 10 podcasts, the Keto Kamp podcast, and has one of the fastest growing YouTube channels with over 125,000 subscribers. So from Miami Beach, Florida, welcome to the show, Ben. It's an honor to have you, brother.
Yeah, Jim and Brian, I'm grateful to be on your show and rock some keto together.
That is awesome. So I guess kind of start out like, were you always living a keto diet or lifestyle? And, or if not, what triggered you to go down the path like we went down the path?
The answer is no. I was not always living a keto lifestyle. I was like most Americans. I was experiencing a keto deficiency, which is the new problem we have these days. So I was obese, as you mentioned in the intro. I weighed 250 pounds as a 24-year-old adult man. This is back in 2008. Pure sugar burner. You know, the only time I experienced ketosis was when I was breastfed as a baby, because babies that are breastfed are actually in ketosis. But like many babies, they're weaned off the breast milk, given high sugar formula, introduced to snacks, and then boom, this natural fat burning baby is now a sugar burner. And that was the case for me for 24 years. And then 2008 was when I was rock bottom, depressed, suicidal, physically obese, mentally obese. And I knew I had to make a change. And the decision came with taking responsibility. I took ownership and responsibility. And I started to move my body with exercise. I started to change my nutrition. And I started to actually get healthier and lose some of the weight. And then 9 months later, I lost about 80 pounds, as you mentioned in the intro. So I went from 250 pounds to 170 pounds, 34% body fat to 6% body fat, completely transformed my physical health. But I also not only achieved the physical six-pack, but most importantly, achieved a mental six-pack. It really helped with my thoughts and my clarity. And I started to understand how important those thoughts are. But that was not done with keto. So an important lesson that I learned was, yeah, I was fit, but I was one of those fit, sick people. I still had digestive issues, acne, a whole bunch of symptoms I was dealing with, although I lost all the weight. So for several years, I still wanted to explore, how do I achieve optimal health? I'm talking about true cellular health. I want to feel amazing, not just look fit, but I want to feel fit and feel amazing. So I explored different avenues. You know, I came across first the vegan diet. So I went full on plant-based, 1.5 years, strict vegan, which was not a good idea. And I ended up actually making things worse. This is now 2013. And as I'm transitioning away from the vegan diet, because clearly it did not work, then I started to discover this ancient healing strategy called ketosis and the ketogenic diet. And I also started to study intermittent fasting, and I fell in love with these tools. So I went full into keto. This is 2013. And then I started to finally experience what true cellular health felt like. And ever since then, I wanted to study it more, share it more, and scream it out to everybody that I know that these are amazing tools. So it's been about 8 years or so since I've done keto, and I've been teaching keto. And it's just such an amazing tool when you do it the right way.
Well, let me ask you a question, because you said something that you did a very similar path that my wife and I did in searching out health and a lifestyle that would be healthy to us. We went down the vegan path after watching the documentary Forks Over Knives. And we experienced, my wife more than I did, a lot more setbacks that really did mess up with her gut issue, living a strict vegan lifestyle. So what did you notice? You were already listening to you were already lost all the weight. So going to a vegan lifestyle, what did you start to notice that started you going, man, I can't keep this up?
Well, in the beginning, when I transitioned to a plant-based diet, a vegan diet, I actually felt better for a couple of months. And I think the reason was many reasons. When you change things up, usually you get a positive result. But when you stick with something for too long, like the vegan diet, you deprive your body from essential nutrients like cholesterol and saturated fat and animal-based meat, which is so healing to the body. So after a couple of months, to answer your question, then I got brain fog. Then I was taking me a long time to recover from my workouts. At that time, I owned a CrossFit gym, and I would do a CrossFit workout and typically recover the next day or the day after. But now as a vegan, 3 to 4 to 5 days of soreness. And I also felt like my energy levels dipped. I was starting to gain some more weight in my midsection. I was getting more gas and bloating. And I just felt like my hormones were off. And then eventually I did a blood panel and it verified the way I was feeling. And that's the point where I'm like, okay, this is not working. I was dogmatic about it, by the way, and it was a lesson learned. So I realized it wasn't working. The lab work verified that. And that's when I decided to research other methods. And that's when I came across keto and intermittent fasting.
Awesome. Now, what year was that?
2013 going in 2014.
Yeah, I've heard.
Go ahead, Brian.
I've actually heard that the vegan diet is a good detox diet, but only, to do it temporarily to sort of detox yourself. So it sounds like that's what happened. You kind of detoxed and felt good at first, but that's the pattern that I always hear when people talk about, going vegan.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Brian. It's very common. You'll probably get benefits from doing it in the beginning, but it's like temporary, like you just said. It's not something I believe any human should do long term. So if you want to throw it in for 14 days to 30 days, you might get a positive result, but you go much longer, you start getting into some dangerous business there.
Yeah. Are you noticing a change, like in the grocery stores when you're shopping? I've noticed that there seems to be a lot more plant-based meat in the meat section, and there seems to be increased prices on regular organic steaks as opposed to this new plant-based line that's being rolled out. And it's let's talk about something that's very dangerous to us as human beings, is the seed oils and the seed products that they put into that plant-based food. Can you address that? Is that something that you're open to sharing?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I see the same thing, Jim. When I go to restaurants that are healthy restaurants here in Miami, oh, they have a new burger. It's, the plant-based burger. It's the Impossible Burger. And I'm seeing it everywhere. There's a lot of really brilliant marketing behind the plant-based movement. So that's becoming more available. I know these fast food chains are starting to roll it out, like Burger King and others, these plant-based burgers. But man, they are not healthy for you or for the environment. They are doing a lot of harm to the environment and to the human being, because to your point, they're loaded with seed oils. Just not only that, they're loaded with a whole bunch of chemicals and preservatives. The ingredients list is a long list. You compare the ingredients list to from an Impossible Burger to a grass-fed burger. I mean, day and night. A grass-fed burger, one ingredient, grass-fed beef. Impossible Burger, there's about 30 ingredients in it. And a lot of those ingredients are canola oil, soybean oil, these seed oils. And did we lose him?
He'll be back.
Should I continue or should I wait?
Yeah, maybe wait. Just pause.
I'll wait. We'll cut it out. His internet probably went out in a small town city.
Yeah.
So you're in Nashville. You're not too far from Ken Berry. Ken Berry's in that area.
Yes. Yeah, I've been following him for years. I've been here a little over 3 years, and probably 3 years, 3 months or so. But when I first moved here, I was all excited because he still had his practice in Camden,
Mm.
which is like an hour, a little over an hour from here. And I thought, oh, I'm gonna go see him. But about the same week I moved here is when his practice burned down,
Wow.
and he's never gone back to practicing. And then I heard then he moved to Nashville when they were going to have their first baby, and I was excited then too because I thought, well, he'll start back up, but he never got around to it.
Yeah.
But
He went
let's go
online.
follow him on. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
he's a cool
yeah.
dude.
Oh, there you go. Now you can sort of
Hey, Jim, you back?
Yeah,
up what
sorry
left
about that.
off.
You froze on me, and then Brian froze, and then I just fell off. I'm like, well, it must be my connection. So I apologize. You were explaining about the seed oils and the plant-based meats. So I apologize for dropping
Yeah, no
off
worries.
there.
I'll just pick up where I left off. So the seed oils are a big problem, and I believe they're worse than carbohydrates, worse than sugar, processed carbs, and some experts that I've interviewed even say they're worse than smoking cigarettes. And here's why. If somebody wants like the scientific explanation, and then I'll give you more of an analogy.
Sure.
So the scientific explanation, if you just look at the chemical structure of these fats, these seed oils, they're also called vegetable oils. And I'll give your audience an entire list shortly, but they're called linoleic acid. And the structure means they're called polyunsaturated fats. The reason they're called that, the word poly means many. So the chemical structure shows there's many of these double bonds in the chemical structure, which creates these little kinks in the fat. And what that means, it attracts a lot of oxygen. And the more aggressive a molecule attracts oxygen, the more likely it's going to oxidize. So oxidation is inflammation. We don't want that in our cells. It's like biting into an apple, leaving that apple on your counter for 5 hours, coming back later. What happens to the apple? It turns brown. That's oxidation. That's what it's happening to your cells when you consume these bad fats, these vegetable seed oils. And then to add to that, when I interviewed Dr. Kate Shanahan, who was the nutritionist for the Los Angeles Lakers when Kobe Bryant was there, she's also written the book Fat Burn Fix, Deep Nutrition, amazing woman. I interviewed her and a gentleman named Brian Peskin, MIT researcher, and I asked them both the same question. What do you think is worse for the human body? Smoking cigarettes each day or eating these vegetable seed oils every single day? And they both believe it's actually the seed oils creating more disease, cancer, heart disease than cigarettes. Okay. That's not to say everybody should go smoke. That's to say these seed oils are so bad for you. The half-life of linoleic acid, which is a seed oil, is 2 years. Meaning if you consumed a plate of French fries fried in these bad oils, 2 years later, half of it will still remain in your body fat. Okay. It sticks around for a long time. That's why I say it's worse than sugar, because you could burn off excess sugar with exercise and movement. You can't burn this off. So here's the list. I'm going to give your Keto Rocks audience a list of what Dr. K. Shanahan calls the hateful 8. And then I'll give you some better options. So we have 3 C's, we have 3 S's, and then we have 2 other ones. So the 3 C's are canola oil, corn oil, and cottonseed oil. Canola oil is also called rapeseed oil in the UK, if you're a UK listener. Then we have the 3 S's: soybean oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil. And the 2 others are grapeseed oil and rice bran oil. Those are the hateful 8. Look, they're all keto friendly. They're not health friendly. They'll create a lot of metabolic damage and inflammation. We want to switch the polyunsaturated fats, the seed oils, to saturated and monounsaturated fats. Saturated fats have no double bonds. Monounsaturated fats have 1 double bond, mono. So these are going to be grass-fed butter, grass-fed ghee, duck fat. Beef tallow is a terrific stable fat to cook your food in. Avocado oil, olive oil, coconut oil. So that switch right there, if you can make that little swap, it'll make a big difference. And all of those bad seed oils are in these plant-based burgers you see all over the place. So people think they're doing something for the environment and for their health because their marketing and these documentaries have fooled them into doing so, but it's not the truth. The truth is red meat is it is the highest quality anti-inflammatory food you can ever eat.
Well, we
Yeah.
talk about this all the time, and we're in total agreement with you, Ben. The problem I have is, how in the world can our American medical go out there and promote this? I know, for example, I know in the 70s, my parents were from North Carolina. We grew up on fried foods and bacon grease, eggs, bacon, and real butter. And then because my parents went to the doctors, and the doctors told them, oh, you want to get off the real butter, you want to change. So they went to margarine and vegetable oil. And that's what they do. It was under that care that my dad had a heart attack and died at the age of 55 years old. Mm. And I saw them, they were inflamed. It caused them to have serious issues, high blood pressure, obesity. And I cannot seem to understand how something that should be very obvious to the medical world, why in the world does that get promoted as a health alternative to what really is healthy for the mass audience?
Yeah, well, there's a good reason to that. And I asked the same question to Dr. Kate Shanahan, and here's what she said. She said that so you're right. For example, you go to the grocery store, you see the canola oil, and you see that stamp of approval by the American Heart Association, the American Diabetes Association. So how can it be, if it's so bad, they're giving their stamp of approval clearly on there? Well, Dr. Kate Shanahan said the American Heart Association is the biggest fake news propaganda organization in the United States. And they're paid by, I should say, these big food companies that produce seed oils over $1 billion a year to create research that is essentially flawed and manipulated, that they are distributing to dietitians, nutritionists, and doctors. And that's why a lot of dietitians, nutritionists, and doctors believe the seed oils are not bad for you. They promote it. They think it's healthy for you because the data is flawed. It is manipulated. It is corrupt. And that's the answer. Corruption, greed, propaganda, and it comes from the top. And as long as that's still going on, then it's the conversations like this, like your podcast, your show, and the stuff that I do, the grassroots approach, that's going to make a big difference. That's why it's important to have these conversations and share these episodes and share these videos, because I mean, you could do your own experiment and see what happens to your body when you get off the seed oils. You're going to feel and look amazing, and you can do lab work and you can verify that. So the conversations like this help people become more aware about what's going on out there.
Yeah, it's frustrating when you look at it, the way that, the pharmaceutical companies, the insurance companies, and, and all the, the American Heart Association, all those things, they're all like intertwined, and it's all based on profit and money and people being paid off. And it's just, yeah, like you said, it's pretty much just a big advertisement. It has nothing to do with health or research or any of that stuff. So it's just a big marketing campaign.
It's propaganda.
And it's frustrating to look at, but like you said, I've been following all the people, Dr. Barry and Paul Saladino and Sean Baker and all those people. And, everybody's got that underground swell that's sort of catching on. So it's so cool to, stumble across like your thing. And, I was watching one of your videos last night, and it was just like, oh man, it's just like, here's another guy I can follow now. So, it's just, it's cool that this is happening,
It's very cool.
Yeah, everything's being revealed now. It seems like truth is coming to the surface. We had Dr. Joan Iflin on a while back, and she went on to say that, the tobacco companies, because they're being phased out of cigarettes being, the next thing that's being targeted, they turned around and bought all the food manufacturing companies. And so what they learned to get you hooked on cigarettes, it's easy for them to even make you more hooked because there's not an age for food. So if you can get kids hooked on cereal and sugar and make it fun and get them addicted to the carbs and to the substances that are unhealthy for you, well, guess what? You get a chance to feed them right into the medical, and the big pharma gets a chance to go, oh, who's owned by the same company goes, oh, we got a pill for that. We can solve that for you. And as Brian always says on our show, look, they're always talking about managing something. Managing something is not healing something. You have the ability to heal yourself by the food and the fuel that you put in your body. And that comes with choosing the right foods. But, you know, I hate to say conspiracy theory, but it's almost impossible to walk through a grocery store in 2022 and pick up an item that doesn't have one of those 8 items that you just mentioned. Even just picking up peanuts, like if you just want to buy cashew nuts, if you pick it up, it's got canola oil on it. Like, why are you putting canola oil on a cashew? But it's almost in everything. Oysters, smoked oysters in a can, and cottonseed oil. It's like, you can't touch anything because they put a little bit of poison in all of it. And unless you go back to an organic ingredient, AKA meat, pure meat, salt and pepper, you have to pick up everything that you're thinking about buying and read the label, because 95% of the time or 99% of the time, it's going to have a poison or a toxin part of that as one of the ingredients.
You know, people think I'm crazy because I'm always analyzing the ingredients of this. Like anytime I see something, the first thing I do is I pick it up and see what's in it. And people are like, oh, you know, just eat it. You know, it's like, no thanks.
Yeah, no, you're doing the right thing. That's what you want to do. People don't even do that,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate. But the reason it's out there is because people are still buying it. If we don't buy it, I know we're not buying it like us three, but if us as a collective community stop buying the cashews with the vegetable oils, whatever it is with the vegetable oils, they'll stop making it. There's no demand for it. So we need to do what you're both are doing and looking at the ingredients. And you vote with your fork, you vote with your dollars. If we stop putting our dollars towards it, they'll stop manufacturing that. We put our dollars towards whole foods, grass-fed beef, that will become more accessible. So it's really a matter of messages like this to get out there to the masses, and then everybody could make their own individual decisions. And those decisions are what determine what goes into the supermarket.
Yeah, it's even aggravating the fact that if I feel like the big pharma, whatever you want to call the conglomerate of food, healthy organization.
I call them the Frankenfood Mafia.
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect. I like that. That's perfect. We will start incorporating that. The Frankenfood Mafia. So it's frustrating for you we start promoting keto and carnivore. And I think like with Dr. Barry and with what you're doing with Keto Kamp and Keto Flex and a lot of others out there, Paul Saladino, that they understand that it's having an impact. It feels like they've hijacked, okay, well, keto. So now we'll just start marking food and putting keto on it, just like the heart healthy stamp. And so now you got all those food, people hear these podcasts and they go, oh, you know, I think I'm going to try this keto thing. Because I watched this Keto Kamp podcast and it makes a lot of sense. So they go through their grocery store to a Costco and they say, oh, keto. Oh, this is keto. And they buy all this keto stamp food that they believe is keto, but it has all the toxins that we're talking about here, and it's not truly keto. And then they try it, it damages, they don't lose weight, they feel worse, and they go, yeah, I tried keto, it doesn't work. So it's almost like a smear campaign. And, you know, one of the biggest things that I think people can do is listen to your program that you have, the 222 program, I believe, in regards to just eliminating sugar and start to take simple baby steps so you can then grow into a carnivore and then grow into health, and start to notice and document those differences when you start to have more energy, clarity of mind, no aches and pains. You're on a more you don't need to be eating 5 to 7 times a day. Like, oh my gosh, I just finished breakfast. I just have oatmeal and cereal, but man, what am I going to have the next hour? And then I think naturally by putting the right fuel in your body will automatically cause you to start to go into what's called intermittent fasting, because you won't find yourself, I'm starving 24 hours a day. So let's just jump on and talk about your 222 steps that people can take?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great transition. If somebody wants to stop being a sugar burner and then they want to burn fat and get into ketosis, which many of us need to do, then the 2-2-2 rule is a great transition. And it's a simple rule. You do it every single day for about 14 days to get you into ketosis without any side effects like the keto flu, brain fog, or any kind of transition side effects. So every day you want to consume 2 tablespoons of olive oil or avocado oil, 2 tablespoons of coconut oil or MCT oil, 2 tablespoons of grass-fed butter or grass-fed ghee, and then 2 teaspoons of sea salt to replenish the electrolytes that are lost. And you have those oils, those fats throughout the day with your meals, not in one sitting, but the oils you're using to cook your foods in, the butter you're putting maybe in your coffee, the salad dressings, your dips. What that's going to do, it's going to start teaching your body to start utilizing fatty acids for fuel because you're giving it all this healthy fat. At the same time, you're now decreasing your total carbs to gradually get it under 50 grams. And that's how you get into ketosis safely. And it's very easy to do. You can do it within 7 to 14 days. So that's usually what I tell like people who have no idea what keto is. They know they want to burn fat instead of sugar. I give them those 2 steps. Gradually decrease your carbs until you eventually get below 50 grams. Follow the 2-2-2-2 rule. And in 7 to 14 days, you're there. And that right there is the perfect steps to do more advanced keto stuff.
Now, how did you incorporate, what's your story in incorporating intermittent fasting? Because I know you do it just like we do it. So how did that come into your lifestyle?
I love intermittent fasting. It's such a great tool, just like keto. Intermittent fasting checks the box on every health benefit people are seeking. It's just a great way to harness the innate intelligence and tap into the wisdom of the human body. I personally started to do intermittent fasting at the same time I was doing keto. I was studying them both and I was fascinated by both. So I did at the same time back in 2013, 2014. The way that I teach it now and I would recommend it now is to first do keto. First get fat adapted, which is that 7 to 14 days. And then you would pair intermittent fasting with it after that. I have a 4-pillar approach that I teach in Keto Flex. The first pillar is adapt, getting fat adapted. The second pillar is fast, intermittent fasting strategies. And the reason I say that is because if you do intermittent fasting as a sugar burner, it's not going to look that pretty. It's going to feel pretty awful. The way I view fasting is like a muscle. So you want to build that muscle, just like a bicep muscle, just like training for a marathon. You wouldn't be a couch potato for 10 years and say, I'm going to do a marathon tomorrow. That would not be pleasant. You would train for it. Keto is how you train to get ready for intermittent fasting because you want to have that metabolic flexibility to do keto and burn through your excess glucose stores, your sugar reserves, and your skeletal muscle and liver. And then you eliminate food with fasting. And now you have the ability to switch over to body fat, which is the stored energy. But if you do it too soon and you don't have that ability to switch over to body fat, the brain panics and it sends the body intense signals to get sugar, to get carbs, to get glucose up in the brain because it's panicking because you don't have the flexibility to burn body fat and produce ketones. But when ketones are there, now it's like, relax, brain, you have ketones. This is an amazing fuel source. Now let's tap into your body fat, produce more ketones. And now you're just burning body fat throughout the whole fast, feeling amazing. Fasting is incredible. Of course, you could use it for fat loss, but also for autophagy, for turning on your brain and producing BDNF, for resetting the gut, for producing new stem cells. I mean, fasting is such an amazing tool and it pairs very nicely with a ketogenic lifestyle.
Yeah, it's been probably one of the biggest discoveries for myself. But I agree with you. You know, when people who are still hooked on carbs or sugar and they hear us talk about intermittent fasting, they always go, I could never do that. And you're right, you can't, because you're always going to be craving your drug of choice, which is sugar or carbs. And so, and we tell them, we understand that, but once you get off that, you're going to find that it's going to be natural. You're not going to have the same cravings that you had back when you were addicted to the sugars and the carbs. You're going to find yourself always satisfied, especially if you're eating the right food. You know, eggs and meat being 2 perfect foods for nutrition for you. And that's the other question. You know, people go, well, I've tried other diets. And we always on this show say, well, this is not really a diet. This is a lifestyle. Like you are entering a healthy lifestyle. Like you would, go back to putting water in your car. If you finally found out that you put gas in it, it runs. You're not going to go back to something that doesn't work when you find something that really works for you. So you got to get yourself over that hurdle, and then get your brain to believe what it's experiencing, so it doesn't take you back to where you were, which is, let's get the candies, let's eat the carbs, let's have my sugar. So I'm totally in agreement with you in regards to the intermittent fasting. To me, it was an amazing, it was like just putting high octane gas in myself, as opposed to just high octane gas. It was supreme.
It's a great analogy. It supercharges your keto results. And that's another way to get into ketosis. Once you're metabolically flexible, you can get into ketosis by eating high fat, or you can get into ketosis by not eating anything, because you have an option. You could get your fat calories on keto from the plate of food in front of you, or you could get your fat calories on keto from your butt, your hips, and your thighs. And intermittent fasting allows you to tap into that much more efficiently.
Yeah,
Right.
I stumbled on that around the same time when I was introduced to keto. I discovered Jason Fung, and I got his fasting book, and I found, I was one of the lucky ones. I didn't have to deal with the weight thing, but I had like carb and sugar addiction, like really bad. And the one thing I found about intermittent fasting, in addition to kicking my ketosis in and all that stuff, was it was a great tool for me to learn about true hunger and boredom, and just eating from anxiety or whatever. It taught me, like, once I had that cutoff, it was really cool, because I'd have that cutoff, like, okay, now I'm in fasting mode. And then I'd get those urges, like my habits would pop out, where I'd normally walk into the kitchen to get a snack, and then it caused me to stop and think about it. And I go, I'd walk out into the kitchen like I always did, but I'm fasting, so I'm not going to eat. And then I'd think, and I go, am I really hungry? Like, why would I want to eat something right now? And then I'd realize I'm not hungry. It's just this habit and this boredom or whatever caused it. So I found that intermittent fasting, there's so many cool things that it helps with, including, the ketosis. But for me, it was a great learning tool about my own body signals and all that.
It's great. Yeah, there's so many benefits to intermittent fasting, and it's a discipline that transfers to other areas of your life. When you develop that discipline to refrain from snacking, refrain from eating excessively, that discipline transfers. And to your point, Brian, it helps you become more aware of the decisions you're making, and you start to think clearer. You start to understand what's real hunger and what's just boredom, what's just habitual. So I love it. It's just a great tool. And if you use it the right way, along with ketosis, it's like a 1-2 punch to really put your body in this healing, anti-inflammatory state.
Yeah.
What's your stance on, a lot of people believe that went keto and also do a lot of weightlifting and build themselves up, get muscles, and then they say, well, I incorporate carbs into my life now because I have the body to be able to digest those. What's your thoughts on that, Ben? Do you see that as a detriment for the long haul, or if you get to that point where they're at, your body's able to process those and utilize those carbs, especially based on the amount of weightlifting or exercise that they're doing in their daily routine?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the name of the game is metabolic flexibility and metabolic freedom. So keto is a tool to develop that metabolic flexibility. And then you get to a point where you have achieved a healthy metabolism, no more insulin resistance, no more type 2 diabetes, you're metabolically flexible. At that point, I have no problem. I think it's beneficial to incorporate some healthy carbs, especially around strength training workouts, as long as it's not opening up a door, like a sugar addiction door. If you're a sugar addict, it's probably not a good idea. If it's going to open up a whole door, a whole can of worms, probably not a good idea. But if you're able to have that fruits or white rice and around your workout and then go back to keto the next day where you're not training heavily, I think it's a great way to do it. I think it's a great tool because you have the metabolic flexibility. But if you're type 2 diabetic still, insulin resistance, or you have a sugar addiction, probably not a good idea. So it depends on the person.
Let's talk about that, because it's so frustrating to hear the medical profession tell the public that type 2 diabetes, there's basically no cure. We're going to be able to manage it. Yet studies after study that shows people who go carnivore or live a keto lifestyle, not a dirty keto lifestyle, but a keto or carnivore especially, they're able to reverse that diagnosis and no longer have type 2 diabetes. And it all comes just by making the changes in their diet and what they're going to put in as fuel for their body. But yet, when you go to a doctor in this day and age, they're still going to prescribe what Big Pharma wants them to utilize.
You're right, because a cured patient is a lost customer, right? So what was their incentive to heal people? And so if you go to the American Diabetes Association website, the same diet that they promote for diabetics is the same diet that will contribute to type 2 diabetes. It's like completely backwards. If you think about patients in the hospital who have cancer and are going through chemotherapy and they're in the hospital, and the food given to them at the hospital is the same food that can contribute to cancer growth. It's completely backward. And that's because there's no money to be made with the cured patient. It's a lost customer. Type 2 diabetes is amazing. You know why I say that? It's because type 2 diabetes is fairly easy to reverse. It really is. You could reverse type 2 diabetes in weeks to months. Sometimes it'll take over a year, but it can be reversed. You could take your A1C. I've seen people 12.0, 11.0, 9.0 to 4.9, 4.7. And you can look at their postprandial glucose optimal. They're in ketosis. So keto and intermittent fasting are two amazing tools to reverse type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance. And type 2 diabetes doesn't happen overnight. First, it's insulin resistance, which takes about 5 to 15 years to develop. Then it's type 2 diabetes. And by the time your conventional doctor tells you you're type 2 diabetic or pre-diabetic, that started 15, 20, 25 years ago. But if you're not looking at your blood sugars, you're not wearing a CGM, you have no idea what's going on, you're essentially treating your health casually. And if you treat your health casually, you end up a casualty. And that's not what you want to do. So, and we have to be clear here. We're talking about type 2 diabetics, not type 1. Type 1,
right?
At least right now, you can't reverse it. But type 2 diabetes, you can. And why do we have an epidemic of type 2 diabetes? Well, we're eating an excessive amount of carbohydrates, processed carbohydrates, and we're eating it frequently. And the analogy that I love from Dr. Jason Fung, it's like if I put my headset on and I start listening to music 24/7. I have my headset on, I'm listening to music 24/7, every single day, day after day. But I started off with 60% volume. After about 30 days of nonstop listening to music, that 60% volume sounds a lot lower. Probably sounds like it's at 30% volume. So what do? I need to increase the volume. I'm going to go to 70% for another month. And then after a month, I need to increase the volume 80%, 90%. Eventually I'm at 100%, and it feels like it's not the same effect. It's like the same thing when eating carbs and constantly producing insulin, and the cells are just constantly receiving insulin. You're becoming more deaf to the screams. That pancreas is just shooting out insulin and shooting it out. And the more it does it, the more often you become more resistant, more deaf to the screams. Insert keto and intermittent fasting. You dial down the music and you allow your sensitivity, your hearing to come back. Now the message is heard. Now the pancreas doesn't have to produce all this insulin, do the same job to eat a meal. It's just a little squirt and it's heard and it's used, and then boom. So that's where intermittent fasting and keto comes into play. But your doctor is not going to tell you that. Your doctor is going to tell you that, hey, it's not your fault you have diabetes. Your dad had it, your mom had it. It's just genetics, which is a stupid little answer to make people the victim. And you are not a victim of your genetics. You are in control. You could reverse that. There's epigenetics. That's much more important. So You have to
Yes.
make sure we got to take control and ownership. That's where it starts. You got to treat your health seriously and not casually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brian and I, go ahead, Brian, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, speaking of someone taking their health casually, well, that's the other thing, we've been taught that, oh, just take this little pill and you can just keep doing what you're doing as long as you're taking your pill. And a lot of people, they think that's the easier, softer way, they don't want to put the effort in to actually fix the problem. It's a lot easier just to take the pill.
That's exactly, you know what, you're right, especially with diabetes, right? There's diabetics who do this. They say, I could have that donut even though I'm diabetic because I have insulin. I just take more insulin. It's like, yeah, that might show that your blood sugars are better from the insulin you're taking, but your diabetes is getting worse. And here's the truth that no diabetic wants to hear. It's actually pretty rare to die from diabetes, type 2 diabetes. Very uncommon. Most people die from the degeneration of type 2 diabetes. It's the heart attacks, the strokes, the kidney failures, the infections and amputations. That's what kills the person. It's what the diabetes leads to. My dad suffered a massive stroke in 2014 from the complications of his diabetes. And 9 months after that, he died. And it's because the diabetes led to that. And yeah, your sugars might get better because of your medication and your insulin. Your doctor might pat himself on the back, but your diabetes is getting worse. It is progressing and it will lead to a whole host of other things that you do not want. So it's important to make a decision right now to take ownership and control this before it gets out of hand.
Yeah, Brian and I actually have a mutual friend that confides in us. He's I'll put his first name out there, Billy from Delaware. And he's been dealing with a lot of issues, and the doctors are giving him that same program response that they're taught to give. And he's had to fight them on it because we're so passionate about the information which we share on this program. And he basically kind of decided to do it his way and not their way. And now he just sent us a message over, I guess in the last couple of days or last week, that his numbers are literally, his feet look a ton better. Like the inflammation, the swellingness of his feet have gone down for the first time in 2 years. His numbers are going in the right direction across the board, and all because he was doing something that basically was not what they recommended to him. And now they're like, well, we can't argue with this. Just keep doing what you're doing. And he's got a procedure he's got to go get done. I think this today, actually. But it's just amazing to me. It's time after time. And yet people come up to us all the time, or come up to Brian like, man, you can't eat those eggs. Don't you know that causes your cholesterol has got to be sky high? This thought form that's been planted in America, it has to go to a place and die and be buried, because the truth that we're all seeking is right here and readily available for us to be able to consume, to help truly give us a health plan. But we've been so programmed in this country that if we don't have health care or Obamacare, we don't have health. And the reality of it is, the true health care comes from following what you've been giving out on your podcast and others, is living a clean keto carnivore lifestyle and recognizing what the real poisons and the real enemy is, and take control of that. Don't buy into, well, your dad, your mother, it's genetics. You're just predisposed to be a type 2 diabetic. Look, you got to just break yourself free from all that stinking thinking and start to live a lifestyle that you, not anybody else, that you start to experience, because only you know if you're out of pain. Only you know if your joints are not hurting anymore. Only you know I got more energy. Only you know when you wake up in the morning, I don't have brain fog anymore. I'm ready to start my day. But we've become so conditioned to give the power that's within each of us away to a white coat that tells us what they've been programmed to do. I mean, if people would just stop and think that a regular medical doctor has very little nutritional studies, and yet they never really ask you, what are you eating when you go in and are diagnosed with a high A1C? It's just, well, we can put you on this, we can manage it, we think we can get you down, but you're going to need to take this statin drug or this insulin. And it's just frustrating to hear story after story when it's so curable and preventable.
I'm with you. That's why we got to keep doing these interviews.
Yeah.
Totally agree. So if someone's listening to you and been introduced to you tonight, what book, or how can they get a hold of you? What book? You got plenty. So which one would you recommend as a good starting point for someone, and how can they find you on the web?
Yeah, Keto Flex would be the one that I would recommend. It's my latest book. It's available on paperback and Kindle and Audible. I narrated the Audible myself. So you could find Keto Flex over at ketoflexbook.com. And then my website is benazadi.com. If you want to see all my socials and all that, you could just head to my website. I have a Keto Kamp podcast, Keto Kamp YouTube channel, Kamp is spelled with a K. And I'd love to connect with your audience. If you have any questions or you just want to reach out, I'm very accessible. I'd love to connect with your audience. And I'm grateful that you invited me on your show. Both of you. Thank you.
Well, no, it's been an honor, and we'd love to give you an open invitation to come back anytime you got something that you want to share, because we totally are in agreement with, we have to get the word out from the grassroots, and we have to go out and up with this information. And it doesn't matter if you're out there listening to this, you're in control of your lifestyle and the choices that you make. Don't just listen to somebody, including us. Put it to the test. Go follow the 222 steps that Ben outlined in this podcast. Try it. Give it 30 days. See if you really start to feel better, if you start noticing a difference. You know, I know Brian has said when he transferred from keto to carnivore, you notice a huge difference in your energy output.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, in my case, it was a slow transition, especially at the beginning with the keto. It took me a while to drop the carbs and the sugar, because I would do it for a while, and then I'd just binge on sugar. But that transition from keto to carnivore was like magic for me, because I've been trying to get healthy. I've been working out. And I wasn't even, like in my keto days, I was still a pescatarian. So I only ate fish. And then I decided to try the meat. And those 2 weeks when I first started eating meat, it was like night and day for me. I couldn't believe that. It was almost like my body was going, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
Like, this is what you're supposed to be eating. And I mean, it was so obvious to me. So it was a cool experience.
I love that.
You know, one of the things, listening to us discuss this, you know, especially about the seed oils, you know, we need to start to really understand the power that we each walk with. And so when we go into a restaurant, I know this happened when Brian and I had a dinner in Tennessee around in December sometime. You know, don't be afraid to ask your server, you know, how are your vegetables cooked? What do you cook your vegetables in? And if they say a seed oil, then say, okay, I don't want that. So if you're with a group of friends or coworkers and you're out the mill and you ask that question, it's probably going to stir up a conversation. Well, why did you ask that? Well, because you get a chance to be an example and not just be a victim. Say, look, I asked this question because do you understand seed oils are terrible for you? And then you can just run off what you said earlier in regards to how bad they are to you and say, that's the reason why I asked that question, because I don't want to put that poison, that toxin in my body and be paying a price for the next 2 years. So I'd rather ask, because I'm in control of what I'm going to put in my mouth and into my stomach, than to pay the price. And I'm just not going to pay the price because that's what they serve. If we can all start to, when we're out in public, if we go out to a restaurant with friends or family or coworkers, and we start to ask these questions to the restaurant that's serving this, maybe we can have an impact when they go, wow, this guy this guy out here, he doesn't want to have us cook his asparagus in canola oil. What else can we cook it in? Well, why does he not want that? Well, because he said this, and this. So we can start truly making an impact in our own communities and live this lifestyle out. Don't tell people, live it out so people notice that difference. Man, Brian, you're looking so much better. You got so much. Ben, your color looks good. You've lost weight. You look firm. You look trim. You look good. What are you doing? And then we get a chance to share that story with others who are not feeling good. But if you're not feeling good, you're probably seeking for something to make you feel good. And you said something earlier, Ben, it's not going to happen overnight. The damage did happen overnight. You didn't gain, you're not 350 pounds because you ate one big meal the night before. You gained 350 pounds because you did not eat right over a long period of time. You're not going to lose that 350 pounds just because you decided to go keto the next day. Yeah. You're going to lose it as slowly as you gained it. So don't give up because you're not where you're at the next day.
Well said. You know, the restaurant tip is very important. I agree with you 100%. It's exactly what I do at restaurants. I always ask the server, what oil do you use to cook your food in? 99% of the time, it's one of those bad oils that we mentioned. So you got to make the request. And I even take it a step further. I tell the server that I'm allergic and that everybody at my table is allergic to those oils. Because if you say you're allergic, then they're going to listen to you versus preference. So it's sometimes uncomfortable, but I do it all the time. I refuse to take that hit. And I love that you brought that up. It's something you can do that goes a long way. And other people will see that you did that. They'll ask questions and you have that conversation. It opens up a dialogue. So very important and practical tip.
Yeah, and it's surprising how they'll help you out. Like he was mentioning at that restaurant, I just happened to, you know, because I don't usually eat vegetables, but I thought, well, I have some asparagus, and I go, well, what's it cooked in? So once I found that out, I said, they said, well, I can ask the chef to do it, to cook it in butter. And I go, oh, that'd be perfect. And they did it. It's like, no problem.
Yeah, you're right. They always have something. They always have butter or real olive oil or some sort of option. There's always a better way. So that's a small thing, but it goes a long way, especially the more that you do it. So good job. Great tip from both of you. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, we're not going to kidnap you and hold you hostage for the whole show. So we're thank you and very appreciative of your time that you've given us. And we'll definitely post all your links for people to be able to access you and the Keto Kamp so they can learn more about what you're all about. And we encourage you to go follow Ben, because he's one of us. He's out there fighting the good fight, and we need to keep spreading this word from our house, how we live when we're out in public, from the restaurant, and how we order. And we can reverse this thing collectively, and then we can start living a true health lifestyle where we have more energy and we're not just going through life. We are life.
Well said. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Brian. I had a great time chatting with you and your community, and look forward to many more. And thank you so much for the opportunity again.
Yeah, great to meet you.
Sounds good. Have a great night. Thanks. Well, that was very interesting. I feel encouraged. I feel like more and more people are beginning to speak out and speak up. And I'm encouraged that we can get this message out there, Brian, so people can realize that what they've been taught or what they've been programmed may not be in their best interest, and that each of us need to take control over our lives and our health. So
yeah. I was you know, I hadn't heard of him until you said he was going to be a guest, and then I went and checked him out, and I was like, oh man, it's like another wealth of information here, you know. So I'm going to definitely get his book and check it out too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, when I actually jumped on a little bit of his podcast earlier today, and what he's laying down is just so impactful. And I wish more and more people would take time out of their lives just to give back to themselves by watching, you know, these videos, and the number of people out there trying to get this information out to the public, so you can start making your own decisions on whether or not it's going to work for you or not. But because going down the big pharma statin drug path, it's not healthy for you, and it's not solving any issues. It's just masking them.
Yeah. But yeah, it's funny. I don't know. I forget what I was. Now I've lost track of what I was going to say. Sorry about that. But speaking of, like, the big pharma and the insurance and all that junk. God, what's going on here? Um, I'm always talking about how I don't have health insurance, and I haven't had it for years. But so I do my labs on my own. I just order the labs. I go have them done, and then I'll either like jump on a Zoom meeting with Dr. Barry or something and have him, have him explain what's going on. I just went and had my labs done this past week, so I'm waiting for the results.
Did you use the link I sent you so you get the discounted prices that were so cheap, like $25, $50? It was crazy cheap.
Well, I went through Ben Greenfield's site because he has a deal with Quest Diagnostics where he's got these special packages of all the good, all the good labs, because usually they'll have a package, but it'll, half the stuff is like, okay, that's cool, but they don't really go into depth here and there, and there's things missing. So he's got these like complete lists of labs and this discount price for them. So that's the way I went. I mean, it's still pricey, but I haven't paid medical insurance for the last 3 years. So it's like, this is nothing compared to the price that I paid for my labs. And they were in depth, like the cholesterol, it dives into the what do you call it? The particle sizes and all that stuff. So it'll be interesting to see. I can't wait. I'm like waiting for the email of my results to come in. I know the lab's going to have the flashing red lights as usual, but
for the cholesterol.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this link. I'll post this on the show notes or on our Facebook page. But they definitely have a ton of different tests you can get. I'm looking at the A1C, but these prices are like really, really cheap. I mean, super cheap. Let me put diabetes in here. Like A1C, it's like $25. It's crazy. Crazy cheap. Yes, it's crazy. I'm looking here. Heart healthy, heart metals profile. Testosterone.
They did like 12 vials of blood on me.
Oh my gosh, you were drained.
That's how many tests I'm having run.
Wow. You did it all at one time?
Yeah. I just sat there and watched them. They kept plugging in the tubes into that little thing, and they just kept filling up.
Wow. Who knows? They could be out cloning you, Brian.
They what?
They could be out cloning you.
Cloning me. I don't think they'd want to, according to their guidelines,
Yeah, but we need more Brian Forsythes out in the world to sit there and set them straight. Well, that's awesome. We'll get a chance to have the lab results revealed next Friday then.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. I saw that, I know, like I was talking earlier, but Billy got his results back, and it's all moving in the right direction. That is just awesome, especially how great his feet looked from
his blood sugar too. I mean, yeah, a big improvement.
Yeah, it's reassuring to see someone. It's one thing to have hope. It's another thing to actually see the hope manifest itself into real results, and that are tangible. To take a picture of your feet from 2 years ago and look at your feet now, knowing that this plan that you're on, which he calls the damage plan, and rightfully so, is helping him to regain his health. So it's awesome. So did I see some stakes when we took a little break here? Do you got stakes behind you? Oh my goodness.
Oops. I don't have a tray on there. I got a ribeye and I got a fillet for Shannon. That's going on the smoker as soon as I'm done.
You know what? I haven't even taken any food out. I have not had any food today. I have not even been hungry. it's getting dark here in Summer Duck, and but I've just been so busy. I haven't had the need. I haven't been hungry. I know I need to eat something, and I will before I call it a day. But I got to go figure out what I'm going to go have for my breakfast.
I had my bulletproof coffee, so I'm good till those are done.
Yeah, there you go.
How are you with my raw butter?
How are you going to fire those up? How are you going to cook them?
I'm doing the reverse sear as usual. But hers, she doesn't like hers rare like mine. So I always I do the butterfly thing on hers. So I open it up. But a fillet, that's the cool thing about a fillet. It's such tender meat that you can actually get it medium well, and it's still tender.
Right. Sounds really good. Now you make me want to go pick up one of those steaks that are on sale at one of the establishments that Mr. Shanker shared with us earlier. So I may have to run down to Food Line and grab you know what, my car, that was my mechanic calling right there. So my car is at his shop. So I just realized I don't have a car. So I won't be running down to go pick up a steak to go throw on the Traeger. But anyway,
unless you physically run.
Yeah, that's about 10 miles to get to any place close around here. So yeah, I'd have to really run fast and hard. And but anyway, hey, with that said, are you guys playing anywhere this weekend?
Yes, we're up in New York. We're playing this place called Tag's Summer Stage. It's in Big Flats, New York. Is
that upstate?
Yeah, it's like an hour below Rochester, so just above Pennsylvania, in upper state New York.
Awesome. Well, what night's that? Is that tonight or tomorrow night?
Saturday night, yeah.
Saturday night. Okay.
Which, when this airs, will be tomorrow night.
Gotcha. All right, it's that time of the evening where we get a chance to check in with Mr. Brian Shanker of the Meat Tribe channel for those meat deals of the week. So, Brian, what do you have for us?
Hey guys, I've got a few good deals for everyone, mainly because they're ribeye steaks, and I know all three of us like ribeyes. The first one's at Food Lion, choice grade, and they're boneless ribeye steaks for $9.99 a pound. And Aldi, they've been kind of quiet the last couple of weeks, but they've got a couple of deals going on. They've got their choice grade Morton's of Omaha, and it's already seasoned salt and pepper or Texas barbecue brisket for $5.99 a pound. And they're also selling that, remember that big selection of meat, the Grill Master collection around Father's Day?
Right.
That seems to be an ongoing theme. That's on sale for $64.99. And there's 18.
Wait a minute, that's more than you paid for it.
No, it was 65.
Was it? Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, 65. I think I either paid 65 or 68.99, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you'll recall, it's got 18 cuts of meat in there. It's got some chicken and some pork as well. So 18 servings, I guess I should say. They've got a couple of ribeyes in there, a couple of New York strips, a couple of sirloins that are bacon wrapped, some hamburgers, some pork chops, and some chicken breasts. So it's a nice little collection. If somebody can, and the portion sizes were pretty good too, from what I recall.
Awesome.
And then
have you finished your box yet?
I finished everything but the hamburgers. I still have all the hamburgers left, and I keep, and they're nice size too. They're nice portions. So I know they're too big for my kids to eat. They wouldn't be able to finish them. So I just I don't eat hamburgers that often. So I got to just break them out and get them done. All right, next up, Harris Teeter. They've got their porterhouse and T-bone steaks on sale this week. And they are, the rancher grade is $8.49 for the small pack, and the value pack is $7.99. And then if you bump it up and get the choice grade, you're going to pay $8.99 for those. And that's all. They didn't have very much on sale at Harris Teeter this week. And Brian, down at Kroger, they've got some 73% lean ground beef on sale. Buy one, get one free. And they also have some choice grade boneless ribeye steaks in a family pack for $11.99 per pound. And then finally, Giant Eagle, certified Angus beef. They've got some bone-in ribeye steaks in a value pack for $11.99 per pound. So they're kind of creeping up a little bit. Sorry about that. Just got a notification. They're kind of creeping up just a tad bit on these ribeyes. Of course, when Harris Teeter has them on sale, they're usually the $7 to $8 price range.
That's a good price.
Yes, and I'll tell you another find out there for people. So I don't know if anyone has a Safeway in their area, but I stopped off at a Safeway the other day, and I think I spoke about this before, that they have like their 4 for $20 package that you can get. So they have a section where they put all the chicken and fish and steaks, and you can pick any package 4 for $20. I found they had round eye that was by itself, like a big old round eye piece of steak that's sold by itself for $12.99. So you literally could have picked 4 of those packages, which would have cost you $50 for $20.
Wow.
So people, if there's a Safeway buy, you should go check out their meat section and look for the 4 for $20 section, because you can get some really good buys there.
I'll have to check that out, because I don't think they advertise that in their weekly flyer.
They don't. It's just in the back, and they have a section. They really are just taking stuff that's about ready to go out of date, and they put it in that section.
Okay.
And so and it gives you a little bit of variety. So if you're looking, for someone who likes fish, chicken, they have all of it there. So grab 4 for $20. It's a great way to have 2 or 3 or 4 meals just for $20.
Yeah, I have to go. Go ahead, Brian.
Oh no, I was just commenting. That's a good deal.
Yeah. I'll have to go check it out at the Safeway that's in Frederick and see if they do that. I'll let you guys know.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was just at Kroger last night, and they still have some of those briskets that were on sale last week, like for $3.99 a pound or something. And there was like these huge ones in there, and I'm like, oh, I just so wanted to grab one, but my freezers, I got so many backed up that I just couldn't see buying another one. But I'm sure they'll be back around at some point.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, be able to buy that big old brisket and throw it on the Iron Horse, $8.50 or whatever you got.
Yeah, the Ironwood $8.55.
855, is that what it is? All
Yeah.
right. Well, Brian, thank you so much for those meat deals of the week. We'll look forward to seeing you next Friday. In the meantime, have a great week and cook it up right.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care. All right. Well, listen, everybody, if you made it this far in the show, I always ask Brian, what bit of advice can he depart and share with you that's been beneficial to him? So, Brian, what bit of advice would you give people?
I would say, eat your meat.
And I sure wish I could at this point, because I don't have anything to eat at the moment. So anyway, I second that. Thanks for tuning in with us. Make sure you go check out Ben Azadi's different websites. Give him a like, follow him. He's got great information. He's out there. And you too can go out there and start living that lifestyle that changes how you feel, how you operate, and how you think. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay well, and stay out of the hospital. We'll see you next Friday, everybody.
See ya.
See ya.